What's up, YouTube? I am the Vanilla Nerd, and today I get to talk about Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier. I am so excited to talk about this movie. It's one of my favorites. I just watched it. It's fresh on my mind. I can't wait to get into it, but quick, an obligatory spoiler warning for this movie, as well as the movies leading up to it. So that'd be like Captain America, the First Avenger, and The Avengers, which both kind of tie into this film, as well as some of the movies surrounding it in the MCU. But, I mean, you get it. This movie came out more than 10 years ago, so if you haven't seen it yet, well, you should really get on that. Anyway, spoilers moving forward. So, Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier, the movie that made Captain America cool for at least general audiences. And I can't wait to talk about it, but I do want to acknowledge that it's really hard for me to talk about this in any sort of objective way because I love it so much, and I'm very, very biased. And not that I try to be objective in every single one of my movie reviews. In fact, I more often am not, but I don't care. Reviews by definition are subjective, but that's beside the point. The point is, I'm going to try and separate what I like about this movie subjectively, that's specific to me and to my experience with this film, and talk about what I like about it objectively towards the end. So we're going to start with what subjectively is really good about Captain America 2, The Winter Soldier. So the first thing I love about this movie is that it made Captain America cool. Don't get me wrong, I love Captain America. He was my favorite superhero even before the first Avenger came out. Yes, I will brag a little bit here. And I loved the first Avenger. Like, as a fan, that was a great origin movie for the character. And when he showed up in the Avengers, I really liked how they characterized him there. You know, he fought Loki in Germany. He put up a good fight against the Chitauri. He led the Avengers, which, is what he's essentially born to do. He's supposed to lead the Avengers. He is the leader and stuff. So I wasn't sad with prior interpretations, but it's not like I could exactly hold my head high and tell people Captain America is my favorite Avenger. Because a lot of people were like, yeah, that's okay. He's okay, I guess. Like, Iron Man's the coolest or whatever. And that's fine. Like, I'm not mad at that at all or anything. But this movie, after it came out, I could start telling people Captain America is my favorite superhero, and everyone would be like, yeah, he's so cool. And I could have a really fun discussion with that. And I just love that about this film so much. It's just so good. But beyond being an excellent Captain America movie, this is also an excellent MCU movie. Like, it's a masterpiece, in my opinion, and one of the best the MCU has to offer. And I just love that for this film. On top of that, it came out at a very important time for the MCU because the previous two movies were kind of duds. Don't get me wrong. I love Iron Man 3. I love Thor 2. They both have things that I like about them, but they just aren't as good as the Avengers, which came before them, and Captain America 2, which came after them, and stuff. And after Captain America 2, the MCU went on a roll. They had Guardians of the Galaxy, fantastic, Avengers 2, which was really good in my opinion, Ant-Man, which was a hilarious comedy, and Captain America 3, another great film. And I just am so grateful that Captain America 2 was the movie to start that wave of really good films and stuff. And I just love that. But beyond this movie's effect on the MCU, this movie had an even greater effect on superhero storytelling in general, in my opinion, because this was the first movie that was a superhero movie and marketed as such, but didn't feel like a superhero movie in all the best ways. Like, it wasn't like it was ashamed of being a superhero movie. It wasn't like it was trying not to be a superhero movie, but it really felt like it was a spy thriller first and foremost that happened to have superheroes in it. Beyond the occasional super strong stuff that Captain America does, as well as some of the fantastical elements to Black Widow's gadgets and whatnot, and I guess Falcon's wings are also up there with bizarre superhero technologies. Beyond those couple of things, like, the rest of this movie is fairly grounded. I mean, okay, I guess they have flying helicarriers. It's quite literally not grounded in that way, but it's a very grounded film for a superhero film. And in my opinion, it really was the first movie to be, this is not a superhero genre anymore. This is a spy thriller genre film that happens to have superheroes in it. And the MCU continued to do this with films like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, which were space fantasy and heist movie, respectively. And stuff, but also happened to have superheroes in them and stuff. So I love that for Captain America 2 being really the first in a lot of ways to play with genre in this way. Now, it's not the very first. Obviously, they'd been attempting things like this before, both in and outside of the MCU. But I think this is the first movie to really be a big blockbuster and to get it right. And that's very impressive. And it marked a change going forward for the MCU and for superhero movies in general, I believe. Now, not every movie does this, nor should every movie do this. I think Avengers movies would struggle really hard to be anything but a big superhero action movie. However, because the MCU started dabbling with genre in this way, we were able to have really good movies like Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther that were very different from the typical superhero story. And I love that. And it all started, in my opinion, with Captain America 2. So, subjectively, this movie was a great Captain America film, it was a great MCU film, and it was a great superhero film. And it hit all of those perfectly. But objectively, what do I like about this movie apart from how it affected anything outside of itself? So, you know me, I love the big three pillars of storytelling, character, plot, and setting, and this movie has all of those in spades. To start with the character, all of the characters are fantastic in this movie, and that's a good film. It's not that I like every single one of the characters. There are some characters I like to hate, but it's the fact that it gets the characters right, where I understand each one of them, and I understand what each one has to play in this story. It doesn't feel like they wasted any characters. They all had a part to play, and that just makes it so good and stuff. There's a lot of movies where you have one or two characters where you're like, I could do without them. And this movie didn't really have that. I thought all of them were needed, all of them were important, and all of them made an impact on the film. Starting with Captain America, as I mentioned a couple times before, this movie made him cool. He was a capable superhero, a super soldier, really. I love when he takes down a Quinjet all by himself. It just showed that he was really leveling up from previous iterations of the character. I love that this movie stopped trying to figure out ways that his shield could bounce off things and in a realistic way. They just let it do whatever the action scene needed it to do. Yes, they tried to make it conform to some level of physics, so it didn't do anything crazy, but they really made it a superhero thing, not anything realistic in that way. And I just was so grateful that they while this movie is very grounded in a lot of ways, they made the shield very ungrounded, which is really, really cool. But of course, the cooler scene with Captain America is the elevator scene where he takes down all of the elevator guys by himself. So awesome. Really, again, just showing a different Captain America than what we're used to. And of course, this movie even starts different with him taking down a ship full of pirates pretty much single-handedly and stuff. Again, he is a super soldier. He's not just a slightly better soldier. And I love that for Captain America. Moving on to Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. Her character is probably the coolest it's ever been up until this point when this movie came out. The previous two iterations of her being in Iron Man 2 and The Avengers. This movie just gave her a lot of characterization. It made her character cool and interesting, but also have depth, and I love that for her. I love how Captain America really didn't trust her at the start of this movie, but learned to trust her as this movie played out. It was very natural and worked really, really well for both characters and for the story and stuff, and set them up to have a really good friendship throughout the rest of the MCU, which I love. Also, Nick Fury is in this movie in a big way. I absolutely love his contributions to this film. It's probably his coolest MCU appearance ever, just period. It's unfortunate he hasn't been able to be cooler since then, but I'll get over it. Long story short, I absolutely love his spy chase with the car. It was intense, it was exciting, and his spy car was so cool. It had so many fun little gadgets. The AI was snarky to him, which was hilarious, and it just worked so well. And on top of that, I love his really epic line of, "The last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye." It was so cool, so well delivered. It's really unfortunate that it was so poorly explained in Captain Marvel, but let's just pretend that's not the actual explanation, and we'll just move on from there. Hashtag the Marvel ruined Skrulls, but that's beside the point. And rounding out our heroes, I want to talk about the Falcon because he was really cool in this film. I like how his friendship with Captain America evolved naturally. I liked how he was someone that Steve could confide in and could be a really good friend. That was awesome. But also his superpowers were grounded in a really, really cool way. His wings looked so cool, and his mode of flying was just so fun to watch on screen. It's very unique and different from any other superhero flying animation or whatnot, and his was just really cool. So I love that for the Falcon. But jumping into our villains, I want to give a brief mention to Rumlow. I thought he was a fun antagonist to Captain America for the first bit of the movie, and the fact that he kept getting more and more beat up was hilarious and stuff. And the fact that he kept getting more and more unhinged. Like at first he's like a nice, smiling, happy guy, and then he slowly gets more and more creepy until the end he's like, Hydra teaches its lessons through pain. Are you ready for your lesson? And it's just creepy and weird and stuff. Anyway, love him. Robert Redford, Senator Pierce, was also fantastic. I love how evil his motivations were, and I love how understandable they were, though, because like he just wanted to control everything. Like he talks about how terrorist actions happen all over the world and there's nothing he can do about it. So through the helicarriers, he has a way to just stop problems before they even begin, to just press a button and wipe out people who are bothering him. Of course, he's going to use that for evil ends, but it is at least understandable and stuff. However, I really like the duality that he is still a crazed Hydra super supporter, because his dying words literally are "Hail Hydra," and it's like, yeah, he's not doing this just for the motivation of I want to control the world and make it a better place. He legitimately wants to be in control, and he is crazy. So that is excellently done. I love the duality of that character. But of course, the big villain is the Winter Soldier. He is so cool. He is so faithfully done. I absolutely love his character in this film. He just brings a sense of dread wherever he comes. That musical score, like almost like a scream that comes on screen whenever he is on screen, is just so well done. His metal arm looked amazing, and the fights that he had with Captain America were both just excellent battles and stuff. On top of all of that, Sebastian Stan did an absolutely excellent job with very few lines to just convey the absolute tragedy that is the Winter Soldier and the real struggles he went through and stuff. I it was really sad and really heartbreaking to hear those screams when he gets tortured and reset in the bank. So sad, so well done. Love the villains in this film. But on top of all the characters, the plot was great. It did something that I really appreciate, which is it gave us a little MacGuffin, this jump drive that Fury had, and it kept dropping hints and bits of information about it throughout the movie to keep us going and interested in the overall plan that's behind the whole movie. So it did just a really good job with that, and it broke that mystery up with really fun action scenes and stuff. First you learn that this Fury, orchestrated the whole beginning of the movie just so he could get that flash drive. And then we learn that what's on the flash drive is really hard to hack, and it comes from Steve's old base. And then we learn that Steve's old base is where S.H.I.E.L.D. started. And then we learn there's a secret compartment underneath there. And then it's from Arnim Zola. And then we learn that Hydra is still around and kicking and is actually S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff. It's so well done, and I just love the plot and how it takes us along. Plus, as mentioned in the character section, all of the action scenes of this movie are really, really good. And the one that I want to highlight that I didn't talk about was the helicarrier big CGI action scene at the end, because this movie, unlike so many other MCU movies, deserved that epic of a finale. The problem with so many other MCU movies is that they are a smaller scale movie to begin with, and then they try and suddenly ramp things up to this big CGI action scene at the end. Shang-Chi did this, Black Panther kind of did this a bit, and there were some other movies like that. and stuff. But this movie, it felt like a natural progression. It was like, we've got all these problems. This plot goes deeper than just a couple bad apples in the Shield hierarchy. This goes all the way to the top to Senator Pierce, and then we find out that those helicarriers that were foreshadowed at the very beginning of the movie are a big problem. And I just love that, and it makes the plot so good, and it just makes me so happy to be a fan of Captain America 2: The Winter Soldier, because it really is a movie that's very well rounded and very well executed. So that pretty much captures my feelings about the setting and the plot of this film really well. And that pretty much captures why I love this movie. Subjectively, it came out at a time that was so important to the MCU. It set a new standard for what superhero movies could be. And objectively, it had great characters, setting, and plot. I loved all of them. I loved what this movie contributed to the MCU. I loved what it contributed to superhero movies in general. And I love how cool it made Captain America and contributed to his character being an absolute pillar of the MCU and someone that's honestly at this point where we're at in 2025, someone really hard to replace moving forward. But I do hope the MCU can succeed in the future. But that's just a video for another day. Right now, I just want to say, I love Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I didn't go as deep in this review as I wanted. I'll talk about individual scenes in the future down the line, maybe even do a longer review in the future. But for now, I think this gets the point across of how much I love this movie and how much I enjoy it. And that's all I've got for you today.